Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, instead of doing a normal hypnosis session, because I'm abroad and out of the country and therefore don't have access to my normal studio, on this particular episode, I'm going to do a little bit of what I promised I would do a few weeks ago, which is a bit of help and assistance for those hypnotherapists that listen to the podcast that might want to get some insight in terms of generating perhaps new clients and helping build their business. I said I would do more of this kind of content when I launched my mentorship kind of service. That was a couple of months ago, and I'm working with some mentees at the moment to help them grow and build their businesses. But I really, on this particular episode, wanted to talk a little bit about what I consider to be the single biggest misconception that the majority of hypnotherapists have about hypnotherapy as a business. And, you know, my experience coming into the world of hypnotherapy was very much from the perspective of business. You know, I set up a company when I was 23 years old. Prior to that, I'd had very small businesses from being a teenager. And I was actually 35 when I actually qualified as a clinical hypnotherapist. So from that perspective, I'd already had about 20 years of business experience of all different kinds at that point. And I graduated with a class of about 20 other people who all very capable hypnotherapists. And many of them then went on to do this postgraduate qualification and turn it into a master's. So effectively, I have a degree in psychology. I have 2 postgraduate qualifications, which is 2/3 of a master's degree. So from my perspective, I was given the choice of doing a research dissertation, which would then convert the existing qualifications I have into a master's degree. And many of the classmates that I was on, because it was accredited with a British university, wanted to have that master's degree in clinical hypnotherapy, which leads on to what I consider the biggest misconception that people have when it comes to hypnosis and hypnotherapy practice. And that misconception is that if you become a more qualified hypnotherapist, then that's going to make you a more successful hypnotherapist. And I know various hypnotherapists and therapists of all different, kinds and backgrounds that have endless letters after their name. They have endless certificates, qualifications, accreditations. Their wall is going to be filled with certificates in frames, and yet they don't have anywhere near the same level of revenue that I do or the same size of client base. They're not seeing as many clients, and it's because there is a false belief system there that if you have more qualifications, then you're going to be a better hypnotherapist. And if you're a better hypnotherapist, then you're going to have more clients. Now, there is an element of truth to that belief that if you're a better hypnotherapist, you're going to have more clients, but only if the main way in which you acquire your clients is through word of mouth. So if you are an exceptional hypnotherapist, then because you're going to get such good results, those people are going to then tell their friends and family members, and that will slowly build a bigger business through word of mouth, which is a form of marketing. But the first part of that belief system, that if you have more qualifications or if you have more techniques or accreditations that makes you a better hypnotherapist. In my experience, I don't believe that to be true, because it's like one of those things, like you don't become a better swimmer by reading a book. Even if you've got all the certificates in the world about the mechanics, the muscle movements, the actual theory of, let's say, the flow of water, and kind of all this kind of physics and science of swimming, the only way to truly become a better swimmer is to jump in the pool and practice. And then having coaching, then having feedback is going to make you a better swimmer. And when I graduated, alongside those 20 or so other equally bright, intelligent, talented hypnotherapists, my approach was that I wanted to be a better hypnotherapist by doing hypnotherapy. And I did that by creating a brand, by having a systemized way of attracting clients, by elevating my reputation through publicity, by being able to be found through search engine optimization techniques and creating content that could be discovered by people looking for specific problems. And in doing so, that gave me more clients. And my desire to do well for those clients meant that if I did well with a client, I have a belief system: you either win or you learn. So those early clients that I have, I specialized in a niche that I obsessively learned as much as I could about, delivered that in a confident way, but then had the clients themselves as the feedback loop, and then I would figure out what was working and what wasn't, and then hone in on that and become a better hypnotherapist. And when you do good work with hypnotherapy clients, sometimes they're happy to refer you to friends. Sometimes if you're really lucky, they will record a testimonial with you and things like that. And that enabled me to get better and better. So if I go back in time and I think about, let's say, I don't know what it was, like 9 years ago when I graduated, and there was those 20 other hypnotherapists, at that point in time, the trajectory, we're all of roughly the same level of competency, and none of us have any clients. Since that time, though, because I had figured out a way to create a brand and acquire clients on an ongoing basis, I've seen thousands of clients. And anything that you do consistently in a dedicated way with a goal of becoming better means that you become better. So I think now, I can't say for sure, but I would say the majority of people that I graduated with probably aren't actively working as hypnotherapists, and therefore it's highly likely that I am a more competent hypnotherapist because I've been doing it consistently for about 9 years, and absolutely I've generated more income from that. So the biggest misconception that I have noticed is that it's almost like, if you think of McDonald's proves that it isn't the company that makes the best burger that's the most successful, because I think anyone would agree that the actual quality of the ingredients and the manufacturing process means that McDonald's is not the best burger. What they do have is they've got systemized ways of having high brand recognition, having good margins so they can invest the excess in effective marketing techniques and things like that. So the solution to becoming a better hypnotherapist, I feel, is to learn the other non-hypnotherapy skills that relate to being a hypnotherapist, like business and planning and marketing and client acquisition and lead generation and using technology to automate or to create products and tools that can enable you to amplify the revenue streams that you have for your business. So if you're a hypnotherapist and maybe you're struggling with clients, I would urge you to consider one idea, and that is, instead of doing yet another course to learn about a hypnotherapy technique or a therapeutic technique or something to make you a better and more skilled hypnotherapist, I would encourage you to take that same money that you would have spent on, let's say, more skills and techniques, and invest that in the business side. So business, marketing, branding. Because what you'll find is that if that enables you to accelerate your business, and you end up having an extra, let's say, 4 or 5 clients a week, over a year, that is 250 additional clients. I'm willing to bet that if you have an extra 250 clients a year, financially that makes a big difference to you, but from a competency perspective, that makes a huge difference, because you've then got 250 hours worth of additional work with clients, but also the ability to reflect on those client sessions and then invest your time studying and improving on the key things that's going to make the biggest difference to your client's next session. And at the end of that year, you would be a much better therapist than if you would have spent that same money just learning techniques that you don't really get to practice with real clients because you don't have enough clients. So I don't want this to sound preachy, because it's coming from a place of, I would like all hypnotherapists to be much better at the business side of things, because I feel like the world needs it. They need our profession. They need people to help break their habits, deal with their anxiety, help with all elements of mental health or whatever it might be that they're working on. And actually, this idea that simply learning how to be better at hypnosis is going to help you become a better hypnotherapist, I think, is a fallacy. And what I am willing to do, I've currently, like I say, working with a couple of mentees at the moment, but when I launched that service, I did offer a discounted mentorship session. So normally I charge £250 for a mentorship session with a client for an ad hoc session. I'm willing to offer that currently for £20. That's the equivalent of about $24 for 60 minutes with me, and I can just do a bit of an audit with you, so that even if you don't go on to work with me, it will put you in the right direction of knowing what skills are worth investing in for you. Is it the marketing? Is it the branding? Is it the knowledge of digital systems? Is the biggest opportunity for you to transition from a face-to-face model to more of a virtual model, or whatever it might be? But we would get a lot done in that 60 minutes. So if you are interested in that, there will be a link nearby that will enable you to purchase a 60-minute mentorship session with me at a highly discounted rate, just to give you an idea of whether or not there could be areas of your hypnotherapy or therapy business that could be improved. Thanks for listening to this. I appreciate it's not the normal kind of hypnotherapy session. I promise I will be back very soon with a full hypnosis audio session for you to listen to, but this is just a few kind of business tips and what I believe to be the biggest misconception in the area of hypnotherapy as a business. So don't fall for the trap of thinking that if you become a better therapist, that's going to make your business magically better. You do need to learn those other skills, and I think a mentorship session with me might steer you in the direction of figuring out what area that might be that you need to work on. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next show soon.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.